Welcome back, everyone, to the late night review. And I had to do another wrestling video. And tonight I'm going to be, and I remember this when I was a kid. I remember Wrestlemania 1, and this one, Wrestlemania 2, came out in 1986. And it was on pay per view. And I think a lot of people were interested in it, especially wrestling fans. It was such an extravaganza. The first one was successful. It was built as the greatest wrestling event of all time, WrestleMania 1, and this is WrestleMania 2. And I couldn't wait to watch it. It was 1986. I was born in 77. I couldn't. I was 9 years old. I really, really was a wrestling fan. I ate, drank, and slept wrestling, and I grew up watching it. And I grew up watching a lot of different things: boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, and Olympic wrestling too. But I watched professional wrestling. We used to rent the videos when I was a kid. I used to watch them all the time. And this WrestleMania 2, was the biggest event of in the whole world, considering concerning wrestling. I mean, it was, when you consider all the wrestling territories and organizations, this WWF, WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 1. WrestleMania 1 and 2 were the biggest events that people were watching, and got the most publicity, got the most attention. And then, of course, you had multiple matches taking place at both events. You had, in WrestleMania 2, you had the big championship match in the steel cage between Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy. When you're at that age, or 9, 8, 9, 10, when you're around that age, often you don't know what's real. I didn't know if it was real or not in terms of predetermined. Of course, they get hurt. They get hurt more than almost any athlete, any class of athlete that you can think of, especially back then. Nowadays, it's more controlled. It's more orderly. Back then, it wasn't as orderly as it is now, but gosh, I mean, they still get hurt nowadays. If you look at the history of professional wrestling, these guys get injured and hurt more than almost any, if not every other athlete in any sport. When you look at their history and what they go through, I mean, these guys are incredible. They are always amazing. So you had the big main event between, I was afraid for Hulk Hogan, and I thought, gee, I hope his ribs are hurt. King Kong Bundy, managed by the greatest manager of all time, Bobby the Brain Heenan, they hurt Hulk Hogan earlier. I think it was in March. They had the event in April, WrestleMania 2 in April, and in March, Hulk Hogan was double teamed. I think there was not only Bundy and Heenan, but I think some other wrestlers were involved, if memory serves me right, because I remember watching it as a kid. And he hurt Hulk Hogan's ribs. He splashed him. Bundy had that big splash because he was a huge guy, over 400 pounds. He jumped on top of Hulk Hogan, hurt his ribs and his back, so they were all taped up. And then so when he went into WrestleMania 2, he had his ribs and his back all taped up when they had the cage match. And that became part of the match and the scenario and the storyline later, where I think the tape was actually taken off Hulk Hogan by Bundy, and I think Bundy choked Hogan out with it, if memory serves me right. And then, of course, Hulk Hogan came back and fought back. It was a good match, and he eventually won the match. You had the tag team championship titles up for grabs, where the British Bulldogs challenged the Dream Team, which consisted of Greg the Hammer Valentine and Brutus Beefcake. They were the tag team champs at the time. The British Bulldogs fought them, wrestled them for the titles. And then you had multiple other matches. You had a boxing match between Mr. T and Rowdy Piper, which was fun and entertaining. And then you had the 20-man, I think it was a 20-man battle royal between the professional wrestlers and the WWF. They went against the football players, including the Refrigerator Perry. He was in there too. And then the wrestlers like Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Hart Foundation. You had Andre the Giant. You had Big John Studd. You had wrestlers against the football players. A lot of famous football players at the time that were really famous at the time. Refrigerator Perry standing out. Bret Hart said that Refrigerator Perry, I saw him in an interview, and he said that the Refrigerator Perry, excuse me, the Refrigerator Perry was a natural. He could have been a wrestler, his reflexes, and he really, really picked things up fast. And him and Big John Studd kind of went head to head in that battle royal. And then, of course, the battle royal ended with Andre the Giant winning the whole thing, as usual. Andre the Giant was just back then. Hulkamania was starting to run wild in WrestleMania, and in WrestleMania 2, it was really, really picking up. But at the time, Andre the Giant was looked at as the one that was unbeatable. He was the one that, I mean, he was the giant of wrestling. And he really carried it on his shoulders, I think, for many years before Hulkamania really started going. And when I was a kid, I was a Hulkamaniac. I was always going for Hulk Hogan, as train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. So I tried to say my prayers, train, and eat my vitamins. I tried to do that. It didn't always work, but I didn't always follow that, but I tried, like a lot of kids probably. But yeah, when I was a kid, I was so pumped up for wrestling. Like I said earlier, I ate, drank, and slept wrestling. Really loved watching it. We rented the videotapes. WrestleMania 2, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait for it to be rented for me so I can watch it. And of course, later, my parents rented it, and other videos too, but my parents rented that and we watched it. We didn't see it on pay-per-view at the time. We didn't start watching pay-per-view until like the 90s when my parents ordered boxing matches, and I would watch those heavyweight championship matches and other matches. They'd have boxing on pay-per-view, and then Ultimate Fighting, we watched that. But yeah, I grew up watching wrestling. I liked Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. So many, I like the good guys mostly, but I like the bad guys too. I liked Hercules Hernandez, Jake the Snake Roberts, Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy, Mr. Wonderful when he was a good guy. And when he betrayed Hulk Hogan, I was very upset because I was a Hulkamaniac, and I thought it was a real betrayal. How could he double cross his friend? When you're a kid, you think this stuff could be real. And I did. And that's one of the reasons that I got so excited and pumped is because I thought it was real when I was 7, 8, 9, 10. Later on, I started to figure things out, and then people were telling me it's scripted. And then later, I did find out it was scripted. But when I was that young, it was so exciting. And even after I found out it was scripted, it was exciting because I was into the characters. I kind of stopped watching it when probably in the 90s, I stopped watching it. I think the last WrestleMania I really saw before I stopped watching it was WrestleMania 9 or 10 or 8. It could have been around 8, I'm not sure, but it was where Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice had their match. And around that time, I think I might have watched 1 or 2 more SummerSlams or WrestleManias after that, and then I kind of got out of it. Just watched Ultimate Fighting and then boxing, and then I think later, around 2000 or 2001, I started to watch wrestling because Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage and all the guys I used to watch in WWF went to WCW. And then, of course, you had the NWO and all that. And, I started watching it off and on then again. Then even Mr. Wonderful went there. So when I was a kid, I was a Hulkamaniac, loved Hulk Hogan. I liked the Ultimate Warrior when he rose up. And then I liked the British Bulldogs. I liked Hercules. He went back and forth. He started out as a heel, of course. And then later Hercules and Paul Roma formed Power and Glory. I love that tag team, by the way. And I liked a lot of different tag teams. Power, I know I'm supposed to be talking about WrestleMania too, but you get me talking about wrestling and I can go on and on and on. But I loved WrestleMania too. And by the way, I liked Legion of Doom. I liked the Demolition. I liked Powers of Pain. I love the Barbarian and the Warlord. And I just, their builds and the way they look, their gimmick, I really enjoyed that. I wish they would have got pushed more. And same with Power and Glory. I really wish they would have got that push where the belts, the tag team belts, would have been on them. I think they were a tag team that should have been pushed more. And also Powers of Pain, and they kind of were, but I think they could have been pushed more. And then also, and that Barbarian, what a tough guy. But the Power and Glory, I wish they would have got that push. I thought Hercules and Paul Roma were a really good tag team. Fun. Yes, they were heels, but so what? I wish the belts would have been put on them. And I think that could have been built up quite a bit more. But yeah, I mean, there's so many great characters. $1 Million Man. You had Bobby the Brain Heenan. I'll always say it. He was the best manager of all time, and I think he was probably the funniest personality ever in wrestling. I did really enjoy when Jesse Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon were on the mics when they were commenting on the matches. That was super funny and super interesting. That was great. Bobby the Brain Heenan was such a great manager and so funny. I got such a kick out. He always made me laugh. Sometimes I would just, even when I was going for Hulk Hogan and the comments that Heenan would make just made me bust up laugh. And I always liked him, even though when I was a kid I was a Hulkamaniac and going for the good guys. I was always fascinated with him, and then his the Heenan family and all the stable of wrestlers that he had, and his personality when he would introduce his own guys. Now, you humanoids out there, you got to pay this man respect. You're looking at one of the greatest athletes of all time, and you don't recognize it. You don't, because you don't have it up here like I do. But this man, he had that personality where he made me laugh. I busted a gut laughing with Bobby the Brain Heenan. He was a legend. He was a legend and so talented in so many different ways, and just loved watching him. But what a world that was created by these guys, and Vince McMahon Sr. and Jr. Of course, he took that torch and made it 5 times brighter. But if you look at the focus and the determination and the talent that was put together, and the focus on this business, the wrestling business, they made it great. Just absolutely great. All the controversial stuff aside, whatever your opinion is, they were very, very good at what they did. And they entertained a lot of people and influenced a lot of people to work out, and exercise. And I think there was a lot of good parts to it. I know it was a major part of my childhood, and it inspired me a lot to work out. And I bought into the training, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins. I didn't know what these guys were doing behind the scenes. I was just a kid and watching this. It was an innocent time, though. I really loved that. There's a lot of different things that were innocent. When you're a kid, you look at a lot of different things at face value, and you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. But I really liked a lot of the innocence of not only the characters, but also because you didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. I do now, but it was really, really a fun experience, and it'll always be a magical part of my life. I was supposed to be talking about Wrestlemania 2, and get me talking about wrestling, I'll go on and on about different things. But WrestleMania 2 was really, really great. Up to that time, I think it was the best, one of the best, if not the best, wrestling event up to that time in history. In 1986, it was very good. I enjoyed the matches. I was worried for Hulk Hogan, and he finally pulled it off, and he won the steel cage match against King Kong Bundy. And there's so many matches on the card, I don't remember them all. I'm going on memory, folks, but I remember most of it. And I looked at the card real quick, who was wrestling right before I did this video, just so you know. But I loved wrestling, and I still look back on it with nostalgia, fond memories. It's still going today, but I remember the legends the most, the ones who impacted me in my life as a kid, and getting nostalgia the most. But these are great athletes nowadays and then, and throughout every decade had great wrestlers and great athletes. but I have so much nostalgia for Hogan and Mr. Wonderful, Andre the Giant, you know, Bobby the Brain Heenan, what a manager. And I can go on and name so many, but there's so many wrestlers that I liked. And then going back even further, you got really tough guys like Dick Slater, Dick Murdoch, and then of course, Haku. What a tough guy he was. I've heard the stories. I know about a lot of different things, you know, just by watching videos. And he continued wrestling all the way up until they went to the WCW and did a really good job over there as Ming. But when I was a kid, it was Haku, and then he became Ming later. But just so many memories and so much entertainment they provided for me and tens of thousands, if not millions of other people. But Wrestlemania 2, I give it a thumbs way up to the moon, up to the stars, and I really, really like it. I highly recommend it. It's a major part of my life when I was a kid, a lot of nostalgia for it. And I recommend it highly. This has been the Late Night Review. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and hype this video up. Share it so other people can see this type of content. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been the Late Night Review. Good night.